History has branded this the most dangerous book ever written, the Handbook of Tyrants, the inventor of the worst political system ever imagined. We are told it is a manual for the soulless. But what if the common understanding of Niccolò Machiavelli and his seminal work, The Prince, is fundamentally wrong? What if this humble and obscure civil servant wasn't teaching us how to be evil, but was instead the first man to look at the world without blinking? In a time of absolute chaos, Niccolò Machiavelli wrote The Prince as a gift of suffering and danger. It is a book that demands we choose between the world we imagine and the world that actually exists. Welcome to Bookshelf. Today, we peel back the layers of a text that doesn't just describe power, it dissects the human soul. To understand The Prince, we must first strip away 5 centuries of propaganda. Here is what this book actually is, optimized for the reality of 2026. First, the identity of the author. Niccolò Machiavelli was not a king or conqueror. He was the secretary to the Florentine Republic, a man who lost his office because of his liberal opinions. He wrote from the perspective of the populace, looking up at the mountains of power, much like a landscape painter standing in the valley to draw the peaks. His authority comes from long experience of modern events and a constant study of the past. Second, the core thesis. The book is a rejection of political imagination. Machiavelli argues that how we live is so far removed from how we ought to live that the leader who focuses on the ought will find only ruin. The central psychological argument is that power is not a moral reward. It is a structural necessity that must be maintained through good laws and good arms. Third, why it matters now. In an era of shifting alliances and digital viciousness, Machiavelli's insight into mixed monarchies remains hauntingly relevant. He warns that men change masters willingly, hoping to better themselves, only to find they have gone from bad to worse. In 2026, we are still caught in this cycle of hope and disillusionment, making his practical guide more a mirror than a manual. We begin with an uncomfortable truth. Goodness is a liability in a world of wolves. Machiavelli writes, "A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good." This is not a celebration of evil. It is a cold, clinical observation. Machiavelli suggests that lofty ideals translate into bad government. If a leader is too liberal with money, they eventually have to tax their subjects into poverty to maintain the appearance of generosity. If they are too merciful, they allow disorders to arise that result in murders and rapine, which injure the whole community. In modern psychology, we call this the paradox of the agreeable leader. By trying to please everyone, the leader protects no one. Machiavelli demands we recognize that some things which seem virtues would in fact lead to one's ruin. He forces the reader to ask, are you willing to be vicious if it is the only way to ensure the well-being of the state? This leads to the most famous and most misunderstood question in political history. Is it better to be loved or feared? Machiavelli's answer is chilling. It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one of the two has to be wanting. Why? Because love is a chain of obligation that men, being selfish, break whenever it serves their purpose. Fear, however, is maintained by a dread of punishment that never fails. This reveals a profound cynicism about human nature. Machiavelli views the average citizen as ungrateful, voluble, dissemblers, and anxious to avoid danger. However, there is a crucial boundary. The prince must make himself feared in a way that he avoids hatred. To be hated is to be vulnerable. To avoid hatred, one must simply abstain from interfering with the property of his citizens and with their women. Power, in Machiavelli's view, is a structural tension. It is the ability to command without provoking the vengeance of the injured. To survive, a leader must transcend their humanity. They must become part beast. Machiavelli explains that there are 2 ways of fighting, by law and by force. Law belongs to men, force belongs to beasts. But because law is often insufficient, the leader must know how to use both natures. He introduces the iconic dualism. One must therefore be a fox to recognize snares and a lion to frighten wolves. The lion represents the raw military force required to crush opposition, but the lion is defenseless from snares. The fox represents the astuteness required to confuse men's brains and navigate the fraud of diplomacy. This is a demand for radical adaptability. A leader who is only a lion will be trapped by his own strength. A leader who is only a fox will be devoured by the wolves. The book quietly demands that the reader accept a fragmented identity, to be a great feigner and dissembler, while appearing to be all faith, all integrity, all humanity, and all religion. Finally, we face the element that destroys every plan: chaos, or what Machiavelli calls fortune. He compares fortune to an impetuous river that, when turbulent, inundates the plains, ruins trees and buildings. When the flood comes, no one can stop it. But Machiavelli's genius lies in the calm times. He argues that men can make provision against the river by dams and banks, so that when it rises, the rush will not be so wild and dangerous. This is the essence of virtù, personal ability. A leader who bases himself entirely on fortune is ruined when fortune varies. Success is found by the man whose mode of proceeding accords with the needs of the times. However, he notes a tragic human flaw. We cannot change our nature. The cautious man cannot act suddenly when the times demand it, and thus he is ruined. The tension remains unresolved. Can we truly build dams against the future, or are we all just waiting for a flood we can't outrun? Most readers walk away from The Prince thinking they have read a book on how to be a tyrant. They missed the landscape painter in the preface. Machiavelli did not write this for princes alone. As Luigi Ricci noted in 1903, Machiavelli showed in the most deliberate and in the plainest way the arts by which free peoples were made slaves. If you know how the fox sets the trap, you can avoid the snare. If you know how the lion prepares for war, you can guard your own gates. The final, carefully chosen quote from the book reveals its ultimate aim. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few feel what you are. This is not an invitation to deceive. It is a warning that we are being deceived. Machiavelli is pulling back the curtain on the majesty of the state to show the blood-stained knife behind the curtain. The implication for the reader is profound. In a world of appearances, the only thing that matters is the real truth of the matter and the ability to see it before it destroys you. In the end, The Prince leaves us with a devastating insight. The world consists only of the vulgar, and the vulgar are always taken by the result of things. Success is the only morality history recognizes. But there is one question that Machiavelli leaves deliberately unresolved, one that still festers in the heart of modern leadership. Is it possible to maintain power without losing your soul? Or is the grandeur of a state always built on the unmerited sufferings of the populace? Does the end truly justify the means, or is that merely the lie the fox tells the lion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is Machiavelli a teacher of evil, or the ultimate whistleblower for the oppressed? If you want to understand the psychological cost of maintaining the mirage of goodness, watch our deep dive into the philosophy of power dynamics next. This has been Bookshelf. Subscribe for more cinematic dissections of the books that built our world. Stay sharp, stay vigilant.